Naksa has knowledge about everything. So it was always so exciting to be around him because there was just so much to talk about with him. The classic Nagarjuna shot that Kapil sir plays, and I actually texted Ranveer Singh saying that this is just something that I'm dying to watch. I was aware I was going to meet him, so I had like scripted what I was going to speak to him, and my hands were sweaty, and I was so nervous. And then the third time I met him was actually at Wimbledon when he won the Wimbledon. So I met him when I went to watch the fourth round. So it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal. I'm really glad that he's gotten his due because he's someone who's really worked hard for it. I feel the feeling of all the entire crowd in tears, the entire crowd. It was just something which can never be replicated. The amount of love this man has gotten.
So, Saiyami, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me over. I'm glad I could come here.
So, we went through your Twitter, and there's a very interesting bio that you'd put out. It says sports, Sachin, chocolate, and cinema lover. I mean, these words beautifully encapsulate Saiyami. Is that true?
Yeah, I think it perfectly describes who I am because sport is very integral in my existence, and for me, it's Sachin and then cricket. Unfortunately, he doesn't play anymore, but I can't live without chocolate and cinema. So, well, the bio kind of sums up who I am.
But don't you think you forgot to mention Roger Federer? I mean, you are a die-hard fan, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, I'm a huge Federer fan, and it was heartbreaking because he lost in the second round in the Doha Open. But I mean, I've stalked Federer and Sachin all my life. I'm a huge fan of both of them, and I'm looking forward to the Wimbledon because I hope he makes a strong comeback there. Actually, I've seen him thrice rather. The first time when I was shooting for a film in New York, and we were in the same restaurant, and he was going to the elevator, and it was so sudden that I just started crying. There were just tears flowing out of my eyes. I didn't know what had happened to me. So I couldn't really go and speak to him because I was so overwhelmed. The second time I actually, met him, I knew I was going to meet him. That was in Delhi when he came to play the IPTL. And I was aware I was going to meet him. So I had like scripted what I was going to speak to him, and my hands were sweaty, and I was so nervous. And then the third time I met him was actually at Wimbledon when he won the Wimbledon. So I met him when I went to watch the fourth round. So it was surreal. It was absolutely surreal.
Right. So if there was any one quality, or maybe in his case, it has to be qualities that you wanted to pick from Federer, what would those be?
I think, we all know that he's such a master on the tennis when he's playing tennis, but I just think it's the humility he shows when he's not playing. For me, I think both Sachin and Federer, that's one common aspect which really stands out. It's the humility that they both have in spite of being the best in the world.
Right. In fact, you've also mentioned that you want to capture India's win against Australia in a book. I mean, that is something that you're focusing on right now. And the sentiment was such that it was so strong that it sort of, triggered this idea of putting it down in a book. Is that true?
Yes, actually, the series has taught me so much, besides just being a sport lover. So technically, of course, there was a lot that went into it. But I felt it was probably one of the finest underdog stories that I have witnessed because the 83 World Cup, I wasn't born, so I haven't watched the 83 World Cup live. But I think this series kind of was the most inspiring sporting series that I have witnessed. So I had so many emotions, so I wanted to kind of pen them down. It is definitely a slow process because it's something that I've never done before. So it will take time, but that's something which I want to put out as soon as I'm ready with it.
Now we come to your film, The Wild Dog. Ever since the trailer has been released, it's gotten over 10 million views. So that shows that the film is already a hit with all your fans. We wanted to understand how fierce and ferocious is your character in the film, because that's something that we've already gotten a sneak peek into. But how fierce are you in the film?
So I'm playing a raw agent in the film, and it was very exciting because I actually got to do a whole lot of action. I've bruised and hurt myself all over. Actually had probably one of the most exciting experiences also because before COVID happened, actually one of the antagonists in the film was the Mountain from Game of Thrones, and he was going to play a character, and I was kind of fighting with him. Unfortunately, we had to get that out of the film because we couldn't get him back post COVID, so we had to kind of change the track around a little bit. But there's a lot of action just getting to work with Nagarjuna sir, which was such a huge learning experience. So lots to take out from Wild Dog for me. He's someone who comes with so much experience. So just kind of hanging around with him on set, even when we're not shooting, you're always learning so much because. The best thing about Nag sir is that besides his passion for cinema and besides, how wonderful he is in front of camera, he's such a delight when, even off camera because he's so well versed with so many things. His interests are so diverse. So from diving to the stock market to, you name it, and Nag sir has knowledge about everything. So it was always so exciting to be around him because there was just so much to talk about with him.
The film is based on real life incident. What all things did you keep in mind to make your character very real and believable?
So I am actually playing a raw agent, and I guess it's a role. It's the second time I'm playing a raw agent. I also played a raw agent in a Hotstar show called Special Ops that I did last year. So there was a lot of homework I've done around Special Ops and generally understanding what goes behind playing a raw agent. Because we have these preconceived notions that they look a certain way or they're different from us, which is very wrong because we are undercover agents, and the whole thing about undercover agents is that you can't tell, you could be an undercover agent or I could be an undercover agent who's actually an actor. The whole point is that you live a parallel life. Besides that, you're extremely fit and you're just agile all the time because when there is a mission, sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 10 years. When you're called on for a mission, you need to be completely there. So these are a few things which I prepped during Special Ops, which obviously helped me even with this film. This film obviously is very Special Ops was fictional. This is more a real life incident. The blast that took place in Hyderabad. So it is about probably the biggest undercover mission that India has gone through. So there was a lot that the director obviously helped us with regards to just the knowledge and the research that he had done. But it was very exciting to play this also because I feel that these are unsung heroes of our country. So it's just very nice when we put out stories about these unsung heroes.
It's an industry where always the male protagonist, the actor, the hero is given more importance. What do you have to say to that?
Honestly, actually, I didn't experience that in this particular film, and I'm very new to the industry, so it probably is unfair for me to comment on it because I can speak about it only from my experience. With this particular film, Niranjan Reddy, who's producing the film, or Solomon sir, who's directing it, or Nag sir, who is the protagonist. So with Special Ops, like KK sir was the protagonist and we were agents. So the show was kind of mounted on his shoulders. And this particular film, Nag sir is somebody who I report to. So he is my boss and he is the protagonist. So on screen, at script level, I very well knew what I was getting into. But if you're talking about just how they function off screen, I actually was treated really, really well by Niranjan sir, Solomon sir, Nag sir, because they're very cosmopolitan, they're very well read, and it was just a very exciting set to be a part of. So I actually haven't experienced that side, so it's incorrect of me to comment on.
After Mirzia, I mean, you won hearts with your character, and the way you portrayed the character in Mirzia, your acting chops were like perfect. But after Mirzia, you said that there was a phase when a lot of offers that came your way were given to others. I mean, that must have been a very difficult phase, to sort of cope up with. How did you sort of deal with this?
Honestly, this kind of became like a headline in one of the interviews I'd done. But I guess it's a part and parcel of the industry. When your film doesn't commercially do well, a producer is obviously going to back someone who has more commercial success. Uh, Personally, obviously, it's very difficult when you go through that phase, but it's also such a big learning because if you know why you want to act, if you're acting because you're truly passionate about what you do, you stick it out, you work on yourself, you find other ways, you start. I was doing a little bit of theater, you kind of keep the actor in you alive, and when the time is right, I guess projects come your way.
The first time you saw the poster, when you saw how Ranveer has sort of, got into the skin of Couple Dev, what do you have to say to that?
The
Were
poster
you
shot is
impressed?
actually playing the classic Nagarjuna shot that Kapil sir plays, and I actually texted Ranveer Singh saying that this is just something that I'm dying to watch because it's a film that our generation doesn't really know. Obviously, like cricket crazy fans like me have gone back and watched whatever footage we could or whatever interviews we could, but just to recreate such a historic moment, is something that our generation, I'm glad, can witness via this film. So I'm extremely excited, and not only Ranveer's character, but pretty much everyone in the project that's involved. They've given it their all, so I'm very excited about the film.
Okay, Sami, now a last segment where we've culled out some of the interesting tweets, posts that you've been sharing on social media platforms, and we wanted to understand what exactly was the thought behind it. The only memory I have of the Mottara cricket stadium is Trump calling the master Sachin Tendulkar. I mean, that was really annoying. What do you have to say to this?
I know. It was just that we were going back to playing, in the renovated stadium. So after we renovated the stadium, there was, because of the pandemic, nothing really happened except for that huge political rally when Donald Trump came and kind of, made a whole lot of blunders, I think. So I wanted to erase that out of my mind completely. So I was glad that this series has happened, and I actually had forgotten that memory until you brought it back.
In fact, we're talking about Sachin. We have to read this tweet out. 7 years ago, my childhood ended. I stood numb with tears profusely rolling down my eyes while Sachin gave his speech. It hit me hard. The man who taught me self belief was never going to step foot on the ground again. It was an emotional moment for all of us. I think we all cried, when he gave that speech. Where were you? Were you in? Did you get to watch him live? As in, were you like in the stadium or were you back home? I think must have been somewhere at your home, right? When you watched him do this.
Actually, I was still in college when the game happened, and I was studying in Xavier's. I had
Mhm.
bought tickets in every stand of the stadium because I wanted to watch it from every angle. So that's how crazy I was. But when the final day, I was actually at the grandstand watching the speech. I was right in front of him, and the feeling of all the entire crowd in tears, the entire crowd. It was just something which can never be replicated. The amount of love this man has gotten, So it's like I go back and watch his speech, some evenings when I'm just going and watching cricket videos. But it was just such a sad thing because you're never going to see him back on the field again, and he's just given so much to the country. So he's somebody who will always bring out those emotions in me.
Right. And then one tweet about Anurag Kashyap where you said that Anurag Kashyap gets the best out of the people he works with. This is while you were responding to a compliment that you got for your film joke, which I think, left an impact on all the viewers. Brilliant performance, Sami.
Thank you so much.
Yes. So,
Like a lot of times when you get appreciated for a particular performance, like especially with Joke, Anurag kind of backed me with a film which was completely on my shoulders when there were like top leading actresses kind of wanting to work with him, but he still went ahead with his conviction of working with someone who was relatively new. And I was obviously very nervous because I knew that this film, I had a lot of responsibility with this film. But it just Anurag's style of, relaxing everyone on set and not giving it so much importance. And without, sometimes I don't understand what he does, but it's very difficult because he's so spontaneous that I kind of give all the credit of what came out with show to AK.
Yes, and a brilliant message that you'd put out for Gulzar Saab. Thank you for your words, support, warmth, and purity. I mean, this was a message, and with a beautiful picture that you had shared on his birthday. When was the first time that you met Gulzar Saab, and what was the meeting like?
I actually am a huge Gulzar Saab fan, and he wrote my first film, Mirzya. And I kind of make fun of Rakesh sir because Rakesh sir is a big fan of his as well. And he never came on set because we were shooting in Rajasthan, shooting in Ladakh and stuff. So for a year when we were shooting the film, I never met him. And I actually went for a play which a friend of mine, Swanan Kirkere, was a part of, and Gulzar Saab had written that play. So Swanan said, why don't you come meet him? So I said, no, I've never met him. So he said he's written, and the film was in edit. So I went to Gulzar Saab, and I was standing behind because there's a crowd around him. So Swanan went to introduce me, and Gulzar Saab was like, "ये मेरी सूची है," without any kind of introduction. He's just somebody who's so charming, and again, a quality about him, Sachin Federer, which all stands out is just the humility of this man. In spite of being probably the best our country has seen, he's just so humble, and he's so still so passionate about what he does.
And the last tweet, very interesting one. At least we get to know what the poses are like. You are posing for the camera, and you've written on the phone pose. I think no actor does that because most of the poses that we strike are like really funny. But this one is like really sweet of you to actually put out the real message. Like this is on the phone pose. Does it? I mean, yeah.
Sorry, usually most of my captions with my photographs, if I'm looking like at something, or like most of my captions have a lot of looking at the pizza behind the camera, because that's usually what happens is, we are standing in front of camera and like there is everyone behind eating like pizzas and someone having like a chocolate shake and stuff like that. So usually my captions are kind of on what is happening here behind me. But yeah.
Kartik Aaryan is a monologue master. I mean, we know where exactly it's coming from, but what's it like? What's the camaraderie with Kartik like?
No, I think, Kartik is someone who I met at a lot of events before he became this huge superstar that he did. So this was during the Pyar Ka Panchnama time when I spent, at Filmfare, at the Filmfare Awards, and a few other awards where we kind of met. And we met at the Facebook office when I was promoting to something, he was promoting to something. And he's just like, he makes you so comfortable. And I obviously have met him after he's become this huge superstar, and he's remained exactly the same. So I'm, really glad that he's gotten his due, because he's someone who's really worked hard for it, I feel. And the monologue, of course, master is from his debut film, because he's mastered it, and even with the pandemic, he came out with that monologue, which I thought was very well done. And the Dhamaka is because he's done a film with Ram Madhwani, which I'm looking forward to.
Thank you so much, Saiyami, for speaking to us, and for those beautiful stories that you had while posting all those interesting tweets and Instagram posts for your fans. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Take care.